Alright, Code of Regulation Title 7 Agricultural Subtitle B Regulations for the Agricultural 27-5-2009. Chapter 4 Federal Crop Insurance Corporation Department of Agricultural 400-409. Part 400 General Administrative Regulations. Part 400 General Administrative Regulations Subpart A through F Register or Reserve Subpart G Actual Production History 451 Availability Actual Production History Program, subpart obsolete with the Title 24 2024 succeeding crop years for the crops with the contract change data on after June 30th, 2023 for 2025 succeeding crop years for all crops with contract change data prior to June 30th, 2023. Actual production history coverage is offered under provisions contained in Title 7 of CFR 457, and all special provisions are defined in Title 7 CFR 457-8 there unless specifically excluded with special provisions. The APH Actual Production History Program operates, which limited prescribed according with the provision of Federal Crop Insurance Act as amended in Title 7 USC 1501 intent sequence only with the crops identified with the section area with the actual accrual documents provided coverage except when the conflict is with this subpart. All provisions applicable to crop insurance contract for these crops apply. Definition. Alright, 452 definitions. Additional definition for the contained with the crop insurance contract. Insurance contract following with the definition applied for the purpose of the actual production history coverage program. APH stands for the actual production history, actual yield. Yield per acre of the crop year calculated with the production record with the claim of the indemnities for the actual yield was determined by the dividing total production, which includes the harvest and appraisal production with the planted acres of the annual crops by insurably acre of the perennial crops. Adjusted yield, the transition determined by the yield reduced by the actual percentage of the lack of the record of the adjusted yield will exceed 65% of the transition or determine yield if no producer records are submitted with the 80% if the records 1 year are submitted with the 90% of the 2 years of the recording submitted. Appraisal production determined with the agricultural stabilization conservation service, the FCIC with the company reinsured with the FCIC with the unharvested, but in which reflected with crops yield potential for the time of the appraisal for the purpose of the actual production history appraised production, especially excluded with the production loss due to the uninsurable cause of the approved actual production history yield calculated approved with the verified with the determined with the production guarantee with the determined the sum of the year actual with the assigned with adjusted with the unadjusted with the transitional the determined yield with the divided by the number of yields contained in the database. If the database may contain up to 10 consecutive crop years for the actual or assigned yields, at least 4 years will a system that exists will always exist in the database. Assigned yield, a yield assigned with the FCIC with accordance with the crop insurance contract. If the insurer does not file with the production reports or required for the crop insurance contract, assigned with the yield used for the same manner with the actual yields calculating the actual production history yields, except for the purpose of the non-standard classification system pace period. 10 consecutive crop years for the extract, except peaches, which have a 5-year base period immediately preceding the crop year, but the definement of the insurer of the contract with approved with the actual production history yield is being established, except for the sugar cane, which begins calendar year preceding with the immediate previous crop year, defined with the insurance contract continuous production reports submitted by the producers each for the crop year with the unit that was planted with the crop of the most recent crop year when the base period of the crop year defined with the crop insurance contract. However, the actual production history purpose of the term does not include any of the year where the crop was not planted. Whether the crop was prevented with being planted with the insurable cause, for example, uninsured plantable acreage for the county over the wheat 1 year over the years of the crop or a year over the corn for the policy definition land some or followed with the next calendar year. The calendar year is not a crop year for the purpose of the actual production history database. A minimum of 4 years, maximum of 10 crop years for the production data calculated with the approved approve the actual production yield, actual production history yield, the determined yield, the D yield, the estimated yield of the certain crops, with the determined with the multiplying average year of the crop contained the yield of the data available with the National Agricultural Statistics Services, comparable sources, percentage established with the FCIC, each country master years approved the actual production history of the certain crops of the economy. Is initially designated with the FCIC with the base of the minimum of the 4 crop year production records with a copy of the county with a new producer, a person who has not been actively engaged in farming for a share for the production of the insured crop for more than 2 crop years. Production report written record show for the insured crop actual annual production used for the determine the insured yield for the insurance purposes. Report contains for the yield history of the body unit, if the applicable, with the plan for the acreage of the annual crop, the insurable, the average of the perennial crop, the harvest of the praise production previous crop year. For the report must be submitted written verifiable the record of the measurement of farm store production and or their record production over the FCIC with the individual based information contained with the claim of the indemnity with the consider of the production report for the crop year where the claims was filed. With the production report date, the PRD with the production report date is contained with the crop insurance contract is with the last date production reports except for the inclusion of the date as database for the current crop year. Transitional yield or the T yield, the estimated yield of the certain crops with the generally determined with the multiplying the ASCS program yields with the percentage of the determined by the FCIC with each of the county provided the actual table to be with the approved actual production history. Yield the calculation process when less than 4 consecutive crop years actual assigned yields of available. The verifiable records contemporary yet record of the accurate production provided with the insurer which verified with the FCIC with the independent source with which you with a substantial acreage production that have been reported with the product year with the verified with the person authorized with the FCIC with the calculated with the actual production history yields. Yield variable variance table that takes with a certain crops at the immediate unacceptable yields with the variation with the yield 10 trends with the required with the actual production history yield by the FCIC. 453 yield certification acceptable. The production reports must provide with the crop insurance agent no later with the production report dated with the crop insured. One of the production reports must provide with the actual account with the plan of the acreage for the annual crops for the insurable acres for perennial acres as well as the harvest and the praised production by unit. Insured most certified with the accuracy of the information production report more than 1 crop year were most continuous the year in which for the no acreage was planned with the crop unit with the acreage was planned with the place of the type of the varying with the actual production history yield will not consider the break in the continuity assigned yields of the discretion FCIC with the maybe with the maintain continue with the yield date of the file of the production uninsured. Those years of the crop insurance policy with the field crop insurance activity that is in effect the uninsurable acres for other years of the period will not be with you that was determine the actual production history yield unless for the production for such acreage is commingled with the production insured with the insurable acreage. Production report supporting document when submitted with it subject to the audit with a review with the verify with the accuracy of the information certified production supporting yield or supporting records must may be reviewed, verified with the claim of the indemnity with the submitted with the insured crop of the reported yield with the subject of the revision needed with the claim and the conform with the record submitted with it at the time. Inaccurate production reports of the failure of the retain acceptable records shall be resolved with the verified with the combining of the optional form of the units with the recomputing the approve of the actual production history yield. This action should be taken with the time after the report of the record discrepancy with identified with the main result of the reproduction approve of the actual production history yield for any calendar year. Record must be provided with the insurer at the time of the audit and review with the otherwise request for the to verify with the acreage for the production certified with the are accurate. Records of any of the other person having share with the insured crop with which you with the insurer established approved actual production history yield must also provide with upon request an event with the acreage production data with the certified with the 2 or more persons sharing with the crop of the same acres of the different verified shall with the verifying discretion determine with which acreage and production data with any will be determined to prove the actual production history yield. If the correct acreage production cannot be determined with the data submitted with the consider the unacceptable verifiable actual production history purposes, failure of the producer to report acreage of the production complete with the accurate may with the result in violence with the crop insurance contract with the criminal civil false claim with the penalties presumably applicable to the federal claim and criminal and civil statutes. 454. Submission accuracy for the production report for the issue for the solely with the responsible the timely submission for the certification accurate with the complete with the production reports for the agent. Public reports must be provided for the audit plan. You for the records must be submitted for the FCIC for the insurance company, the insured for the body of the FCIC. By anyone acting on the behalf of the FCIC for the insurance company that must provide such for the records upon request. The agent explained with the actual production history for the program ensues in perspective of the insureds. Necessary insureds the necessary for the agent will assist the insured with the preparation of the production report. With the agent will determine the adjusted, the unadjusted, the transition will determine the yield of the accordance. Section 454B for the agent will review the production report with the four of them for the verifier along with any of the requests of the requirements of explaining. Supporting record for the determination proof of the actual production history yield with the verified for the determined the certified production report with acceptable with the calculated with the proved actual production history with the 455 qualification actual production history for the coverage of the program prove with the actual production history for the calculated with the database containing with a minimum 4 year with the update with the subsequent crop year with the database make with the maximum of the 10 most recent crop of the year with the make and include with the actual in line with the adjusted with the unadjusted T&D yields. T&D yields are adjusted with the unadjusted will only with the curve of the database for the hour less for the 4 years actual with the assigned or assigned yields. Ensure that may require with the provide with the production record to determine the proof of the actual production history year with the end with the production records with the most recent of the crop of the year with available accessible the records with the actual production provided. Records be continued with contain at least of the most of the recent crop year with the actual production with no result applicable acceptable the production records are available to prove the actual production history yield with adjusted with the T and D yields 65% of the T and D yield. Acceptable the production record with containing information only the most recent crop year with approved with the 3 T and D yields adjusted 80% will review the complete with the minimum database with the calculated to prove the actual production history yield. If acceptable the production record with containing information only with the 2 most recent crop of the year with the provide with the 2 with the T and D yield with adjusted with the 90% with the 2 adjacent actual yields will review the complete with the database calculated the actual production yield. Acceptable production records containing the information for the only of the 3 most recent crop of the are provided with 3 actual yield with 1 adjusted T and D yields used with the complete with the database calculated with the proof of the actual production history yield of the database contained with 4 or more of the up to 10 continuous actual yield of the proof of the actual production history yield with a simple average actual yields. New producers may have them prove the actual production history yield based on the adjusted T and D yields over the combination actual with the unadjusted T and D yields. Producers who in ad land have the new practice for the type of the variety for the farming operation do not have the available record for the added land with the practice for the type of the variety but may have the proof of the actual production history for the added land with the practice for the type of the variety for the based on the adjusted and unadjusted T and D yields as determined by the FCIC. Here for the producer, competence to show that it produced with the local actual yield with the increase the uninsured causes of a loss for the result of the average year for the quality with the satisfactory yield adjustment with going with the FCIC with the guidelines actual production history yield with the qualifying with the catastrophic yield adjustment may be adjusted mitigated with the effect with the catastrophic year with the premium rate with approved actual production history yields will be adjusted for the catastrophic catastrophe years may be the base for the producer the actual production history for the average yield for the catastrophic adjustment such for the base for the determined they appropriate the FCIC. Non-insurable act with the insured comp operative planning with the for a year with the production report indicating the zero planning the acreage that will maintain with the continue with the production report with the actual production history of the record with the purpose of the calendar year with the not include with the actual production history yield calculation actual yield. Calculate with the claim of the identity with the enter with the database the result of the average yield you would determine the premium rate of proof of the actual production history yield with the discretion FCIC with the optional or units of the not available the insured with the does not prove the acceptable production report for the least of the most recent crop that was calculated with the proof of the actual production history yield. FCIC would determine the actual production history with the yield of the designated with the crop of the following situation. Less than 4 year with the yield of the history with the certified with the T and D yield with the not provide with the accrual documents with if the actual will exceed with the tolerance for specify the yield variance tables for perennial crop, the significant upward downward yield trends are indicative of the tree of the vine damage of the cultural practice with the reduce the production level of more than 2% of the tree of the vines have been removed with at least 2 of the years of those or the yield trends evident with the yield of the grade of the average yield of the request for the insured of the application Actual production history of the will not be approved with the first insurance of the year of the perennial crops until the inspection approved by the FCIC has performed the acreage except for the insurance for the purpose of the accordance with the crop insurance contract with the actual production history of the mastery of itself with the whenever the crop rotation requirement of the leasing practice limited with the yield history available to the FCIC for the staff of the crop and location with the mastery of the available to qualify for the producer must have at least 4 recent continuous crop years. Annual production reports must certify with the authentication production reports for the insured crop with the mastery of the base for the acreage production history for the acreage of the insured crop in the county in which for the operator has share of the crop production. FCIC of the May of the production report available the provision of any of the crop insurance within contract with the continuous and not involve the interest for the person insured for the crops and with determine and prove the actual production history. 456 of the administrative appeal exhaustion insured for the appeal with the actual production history for the insured for the proceed with the contained 77 CFR Part 400 Subpart J for the administrative remedy with the appeal for the profit exhausted prior to the action of the judicial review. They prove the actual production history yield will determine with the result of the appeal of the process rule with the yield of the actual applicable the crop year. 457 the reserve subpart H information collection requirement under Paperwork Reduction Act over the Office of Management Bureau Budget Control numbers 465 through 466 reserve subpart I reserve subpart J appeal procedure 490 definition federal crop insurance for the Title 7 of the United States Code 1501 through 1524 of the administrative of the review of the Department of Agent Agriculture over the adverse decision of the employee of the director agent of the diverse of the participation term included the denial of the program benefits written in the agreement of the eligibility accessor the result of the participation receiving less of the funds for the participation believed should have been paid for the receiver the benefit of the participation he or she would entitle the agent for the RMA, the FC, or the FCIC would include with the RO of the FAOB or any other division agency due for the making of the authority appealing with the participating request the administrator of the review of the meditation of the bowl for the diverse of the decision of the agency in accordance with the subpart with unless the other specified with the subpart appealing includes the authorized representative any person with not an attorney who is obtained with not an attorney provided who is obtained privacy act for the waiver of the authorizing writing participation the participation administrative of the review of the meditation and actual appeals process. Certified state with the meditation program approved with the secretary that meets with the requirement of Title 7 Part 1946 Subpart A of successor regulation. FAOB Financial Accounting Operations Branch FCI Federal Crop Insurance Corporation Holding Government Corporation USDA FSA Farming Service Agency as agency for the USDA for the successor agencies. Good farming practice for the agricultural combined with the insured for the term of the condition with Title 7 Parts 5, 457 and all of the other crops and policy for the authorized for the act except for the provided for the herein means for the good farming the practice for the defined in Title 7 Part 457 and 8 for the agricultural commodities insured for the term of the Title 7 Part 407 and means for the good farming practice for the defined in Title 7 of the CFR 4079. Insured with an individual at need to apply for the crop insurance with the hold for the crop insurance with the policy with the effect for the previous crop year with the continue with the effect for the current crop year. Meditation on the process for the train with the impaired with the neutral with the third part with the mediator with the mutual for the disputing party facilitate with the discussion work with the party with the mutually resolve with the dispute with the narrow arrow the disagreement and improve with the modification USDA NAD USDA with the national appeal with the division C Title 7 with the CFR 11 the non-certified state with the state that have not approved with the Secretary of Agriculture to participate with the USDA meditation program until 7 CFR Part 1946 Subpart of the successor regulation. Participation individual at need with apply with the crop insurance for the heads of the valid crop insurance with the policy with effect for the previous crop year with the continue with the continuity and effect for the current crop year with the term of the design include the individual at need with the claim of the rise for the end of the program. Give the definition for the participation public in Title 7 and CFR 11.1. Reinsure for the companies, the private insurance companies, including the agents have them approved with the reinsure with the federal crop insurance corporation to provide the insurance with the participation reviewing authority a person and authorized for the response for the agent make of the decision of the request of the administrator that you participate in accordance with the subpart RMA risk management agency agent for the USDA with the successor agencies RO for the regional office established for the agent for the purpose of providing program underwriting so for the private insurance companies of the federal crop insurance corporation under the act of the federal crop insurance with the incorporated insurance contracts delivered with the FSA. Secretary of the FSA stands for Federal Service Farming Service Agency. Secretary of Agriculture, USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, 491. Applicability of the subpart apply for the adverse decision for the person over the agent for the respect for the contract for the insurance for the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, the contract for the insurance for the private insurance for the company for the reinsurance for the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation under the provision of the Act. Termination good form of the practice of the may be the person over the agency reinsured with the company with the subpart applicable to the decision made by the agency with respect to the boundary arrived at the end of the term of the reinsurance agreement with the reinsurance company. May any of the private insurance company to refer with the contract insurance review within the brief of the private insurance company with the reinsurer with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation under the provision of this act, with the determination of good farming practice. Stated in 491A2 with the respect of the matter of the design in 491A1, participants may record with the administrator of the review, mediation, both of the appeal with the diversity of the decision of the agency made with respect to the DNI, participation, crop insurance, with the compliance with the term and the condition of insurance, issue with the payments over the program, benefit of the participation, crop insurance for the program, and the insurance of the payments over the benefit of the individual and you with the not in purchase for the crop insurance program. The participant may seek with the administrator of the review meditation over the subpart is applicable, notwithstanding all of the person subpart with the design part with the decision made by the agency for the general applicable similar situated program participants. Such a decision are also not applicable to the NAT for the agency to determine the decision not applicable to recover the matter of the general applicability. Participants must obtain a review of the director of the NAT in accordance with Title 7 CFR 11.6a of the agency. Determination decision is not appealable before a participant may file suit against the agency. 492 with appeal with except for the determination good farming practice with the nesting with the subpart prohibit the participation appeal with adverse with this direct division directly with the NAD with the National Agricultural Department in accordance with the Part 11 of itself without first requesting the administrator of the review of the meditation over the subpart. Participation have at the time requested administrator of the review of the meditation of the purchase of the National Agricultural Department hearing with the administrative review of the meditation to conclude with the time of the appeal with the National Agricultural Department suspend with the date of the receipt of the request of the administrator of the review meditation until the conclusion administrative of the review decision of the participant. We have only the remaining title of the National Agency of the Agricultural Department after the conclusion of the administrative of the review of the meditation. 493 administrative of the review with respect to the adverse decision and appeal with the may seek with one of the administrative review of the meditation over the 494. Appeal and seek with the administrative review of the appeal must file with a written request of the administrative of the review of the reviewing authority of the accordance with 490 after the 95. Written of the request must state that with the basis of the time of the appealant relies show that the decision was not proper has not been made in accordance with the applicable program of the regulation proceed with the all material of the fact that not properly considered the size of the decision and see if the reviewing authority will issue the written discussion subject to the further administrative of the review by the agency. 494 meditation with the appealants of the right to seek with the meditation over the form of the alternative of the dispute with the resolution of the dominion of the administrative review under 493. All request for the meditation so part of the must be made with the interim of the diverse for the decision of the agency before appealing with the National Agricultural Department. Hearing with the diverse decision, appealing with the chief of the meditation must respect for the meditation no later than the 30 calendar of the receiver that written over the diverse decision on the request for the meditation with the consider the evidence involved with the personally delivered the written with the appropriate decision to make it with the properly diversely request for the postage paid with the postmark for the appealant with the any of the valence day of the remaining 30-day period with the National Agricultural Department of the meditation concluded without resolution. New reverse decision of the new matter with the reliable the different group of the issue with the result of the meditation of the participant within 30-day period with the National Agricultural Department and appealant with the responsible the contract of the certified state with the meditation program state with the chef of the meditation program and the exhibit the state meditation program will make with the arrangement with the meditation profit. All this is certified state meditation programs are available to the ACT with the FCIC with the USDA.gov. Appealant responsible for making all the necessary contract for the range of the meditation with non-certified state with the certified state with the not currently with the offering meditation subject for the display with the appealant with the meeting with the meditation in the states without certified meditation program and they request the meditation request of the RSO which will provide participant with a list of the acceptable mediator of the appealant will may only mediate an adverse decision once a dispute with the not only completely resolve the meditation versus the decision subject for the meditation remains in effect with the because of the adverse decision appeal with the National Agricultural Department. If the adverse decision modified the result of the mediation process for the modified decision become with a new adverse decision with the appeal with the National Agricultural Department. 495 at the time limitation filed when the request of the administrator of the review of the request administrator of the review must be filed with the 30 day of the receipt of the written over the verse of the decision. Request of the administrator of the review consider the habit and filed with the personally delivered the written appropriate decision with the maker of the property with the draft of the request of the postage page postmark. Notwithstanding with the paragraph 8 of the section untimely request of the administrator of the review may be acceptable except for the account of the actual participant can demonstrate the physical inability to timely file with the request of the administrative review. 496 with the 496 with the review judicial accepted provided in 498 with the restrict with adverse decision. Participant must exhaust the administrative with the remedy with the see with the judicial review with the diverse with the decision with the require with the participation to appeal with the agency with the diverse with the decision with the National Agricultural Department according to Title 7 Part 11 prior to seeking judicial review with the diverse decision versus the division involved with the making the determination with the not applicable with the appeal with the may request for the determination not accept appealable ability for the director of the National Agricultural Department to appeal for the diverse decision of the National Agricultural Department, the director for the determine the appropriate prior for the seeking the judicial review, participation for the contract in term for the insurer for the agency may bring suit with the agency suit with involved with the diverse action with the United States with the district court with the exhaustion with the administrative with the remedies provided in the section nothing in the state that can be construed create privacy with the contract between agency and participation. 497 reservation with the authority representative of the agency that may contract to correct all error within entering with the data of the program contract with the over the program document the result of the computation calculation may pursue with the contracts. Note the containment of the subpart with the procure with the secretary with the manager of the Federal Crop and Insurance Corporation with the administrator with the RMA with the and designee with the determining any of the question with any of the program their respective the authority of reversing notifying an adverse decision. 498 with the reconsider the process only apply for the determination of the good farming practice of 491A with the determination reconsideration of the decision regarding the good farming practice of the action that cannot be appealed with the National Agricultural Department only reconsideration available the determination good farming practice meditation of the not available determination good farming practice ensure the reconsideration so with the ensure with the must file with the request for the reconsideration from the USDA RMA Deputy Administrator of the Insurance Service top 0801 2004 South at 10 GFP with the reconsideration 1400 Independence Avenue Southwest Washington DC 20250 with the 808108 or the RMA.m or MSD at USDA.gov with the success of the site with the email the request for the consideration must be filed for 30 days with the written notice of the determination regarding with the good farming practice the request reconsideration considered to have filed with the personally delivered into the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation with the amount properly addressed request for the postage paid for the postmark for the notwithstanding with the paragraph of the D with this section timely request for the reconsideration may accept the debt act with the plan with the ensure with the demonstrate with the physical and ability with the timely file with the reconsideration good farming practice determination limited close with the review of the existing administrative with the record with the written request must be basis of upon which the insurer relies to show that the decision whether it was not properly done made with the code for the applicable program regulation proceed with the previously provided material facts not properly with the considered in such decision with respect for the determine the good farming practice with the insurer with the not required with the exhaustive administrative with the remedy with the Title 7 of the CFR Part 11 before bringing suit with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation United States with the District Court have with the go with the agency with the reinsured company makes with the determination insured with the must reseek with the reconsideration of the 498 with the before bringing suit with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation United States District Court the insured cannot file with against the reinsured with the company's determination of good farming practices. Any reconsideration decision with the agency regarding good farming practices shall not be reversed and modified result of the judicial review of the reconsideration found with the be arbitrary capricious subpart K reserve subpart L reinsurance agreements of the same with approval of the regulations of 2019 subsequent reinsurance years. 461 in addition with the term of the same with the reinsurance agreement the livestock price and with the reinsurance agreement of the reinsurance agreement the following terms you would refer to the defined with the annual statutory financial statement and the financial statement of the company provide with the core of the statutory accounting principles submitted with the state of the insurance of the department and if required with any state of the company's license company meaning with the insurance company currently applied with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation reinsurance agreement FCIC with the Federal Crop Insurance Company authorized 503 with the Federal Crop Insurance with the Act with the MPUL that means an action possible underwriting loss for the company sustained with the possibility with the intent of the reinsurer with the adjusted effect for the reinsurance agreement to provide with the reinsurance with effect for the Federal Crop Insurance Company. Plans of operation, meaning with the documentation and information submitted to the company to provide with the maintain reinsurance with agreements with the Federal Crop Insurance Company. Quarterly statutory financial statement, meaning with the quarterly financial statement of the company prepared with the code with the statutory accounting principles submitted with the state of the insurance with the department and if required any state with the company's license. Reinsurance agreement, the same with the reinsurance agreement, the livestock price, reinsurance with the agreement of the reinsurance with agreement with the company FCIC. Alright, 164 qualification rate with the 18 qualification ratio with the 13 national associated with the insurance company with the insurance with the regulatory information ratio with the found in paragraph B1 through 12 through 17 with the text and reference of the National Association Insurance Company with the insurance with the regulatory information system with the NAIC with 1100 Walnut with the South Street with the South Suite 1500 with Kansas City, Missouri 641062197 with the ready ratio with the AM company with the paragraph B13, 15, and 16 with a section reference for the best key for the K rating guide, AM Best Road, Old Wick, New Jersey, and one ratio for the paragraph B14 section of the FCIC with the calculated same with the 1 year change for the IRIS ratio for the 2 year period, one ratio found with the paragraph B18 when the section was reported for the annual statutory financial statement. The company should provide the explanation rating for the ratio outside of the following requirement, the paragraph B1 through 18. So the gross written policyholder surplus, not net premium written policyholder surplus, change for the net premium the writing for the surplus, A for the policyholder surplus, 2 year overall operating ratio, change with the policyholder surplus for the investment yield of the liability, liquid assets, gross agency policyholders, 1 year reserve of the department policyholder surplus, 2 years reserve of the department policyholder surplus, estimated recurring reserve discipline with the policy surplus for the combined ratio of the policyholder dividend, 2 year change surplus liquidity, return on surplus net change with the adjusted policyholder surplus risk-based capital ratio. 400-163 applicable to the name of the shall have the applicability of the company applying with those of the maintain reinsurance agreement. 400-164 eligible to reinsure for the agreement of the federal competent insurance with the reinsure for the agreement is eligible to company to determine the federal competent insurance with the company corporation with the eligible to qualify with the initial of the therefore of the reinsure for the agreement of the federal competent insurance company must be licensed with the dominion with the state of the territory with the possession with the United States be licensed with the dominion with the policy issue for the company to insure with the company with the license with the dominion with each of the state of the company will be right with the process of the reinsure for the agreement to have support of the reported of the must act annual with the quarterly statutory financial statement at least equally with the MPUL with the company estimate of the retained premium submitted with the plan of the operation. Company shall have the financial operational resources to include but not limited to organization with the internal connection and control of the technical skill of the positive assessment with the ratio of the result of the appearing section 400-162 with the method of the methodology of the data submission requirement of the assessment with the contained with the pendency with the plan of the operation reinsurance with the agreement to meet with the requirements, including draft of the reasonable risk associated with the reinsurance agreement that determined the Federal Corporation Incorporated. Federal Crop Insurance Corporation Company shall provide the data to demonstrate the satisfactory performance required recorded to obtain with the reinsure with agreement to continue with the reinsure with agreement to reinsure with the determine the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. 400-165-168 with the reserve 400-169 the company believe with the Federal Corporation Federal Crop Insurance Corporation has taken account with accordance with the provisions of reinsure with agreement to accept with the complying with the for the may request for the deputy with the ministry with the insurer with the make with the final with the ministry with the determinant just for the dispute with the action with the deputy ministry with the information insurance services with the final ministry with the determination Federal Crop Insurance Company with the acceptable action over the record of the final administrative determination must be within writing submitted within 45 days of the receipt after the dispute with the action. With respect with the compliance matter with the complication compliance field officer of the render of the initial finding with the permit for the company to respond with the issue for the final finding. The company believe with the compliance field the officer final finding in accordance with the applicable law of the regulation custom practice with the insurer for the insurer for the federal competent insurance of the company to approve of the policy and proceed with the may record for the deputy administrator for the compliance to make with the final administrator with the determination addressing disputed final finding with the deputy administrator for the compliance with the render for the final administrator for the determination with the federal competent insurance corporation respect with the final finding. All of these require the final administrator for the determination must be written within submitted with the 45 days after the receipt of the final funding. Company may also request for the reconsideration deputy administrator for the insurance with the decision of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, re-enter the end of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation bulletin with the direct with the bulletin direct with the non-interpreted explain restrict with the term of the reinsurance agreement of the company if the dispute of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation for determination request for the reconsideration determination written in the 45 days to review the determination of the deputy administrator for the insurance server will be finally binding with the company such of the determination will not appeal for the Board of Contract Appeals. Appeal final decision administrator for the FCIC for the paragraph A and B of this section will be applied for the board contract appeal within accordance with Title 48 CFR Part 6102 provisions Title 7 CFR Part 24 470 through 177 of the Reserve Subpart M agency and serve the contract standard approval of the Title Authority Title 7 U.S. Standard Code 1506 and 1517 402.01, applicability stand for the federal crop insurance corporation will offer the agency sale with the contract with the private entities meet with the requirements that set forth in subpart of the under the corporation insure for the procedure agricultural commodity with the contract with the consistent requirements of the Federal Crop Insurance Act. As amended with the provision of the regulation corporation filed in Title 4 of the Title 7 of the Code of Federal Regulations, stand with the containment there, required with the entity with the contract with the owner with the contract with the 402.02 with the definition agency with the officer with the contract with meaning with the written agreement between the Federal Crop Insurance with the corporation, private entity with the contract with the purpose of the selling with the Federal Crop Insurance with the policy with the include with the not limited to found with the agency shall with the contract with the appendix with the agency shall with the contract the issue with the corporation annual with the approved plan or operation and any amendment adopted by the parties. Bell 208B with the modem meeting with the modem meeting with the same with the bell with the laboratory with the dial with the half of the duplex 4800 to 9600 bits per second with the transmission of the data utilized with the 3780 with the 22780 protocol contract with the agency sale with the service contract electronic system meaning with the data process with the hardware system software with the communication hardware software components utilized with the system CPA with the certified public accountant license with the state with the CPA with the practice the certified public accountant audit means with the professional examination conducted with the CPA with the conform with the general with the accepted with the audit with the same with the financial statement the basis with the CPA with the respect with the independent professional opinion with the respect with the fairness presentation over the financial statement the current asset with the means with the cash for the other asset with the response with the expected with the real life with the cash and sold with the consumer and consumed with the during with the normal operation cycle with the business within 1 year with the operation cycle with the shore within 1 year current liability mean with the liability except with the satisfied with the use of the asset with classified with the current with the same balance sheet with the creation of the other current liability expected to satisfy with a relatively short period of time, usually 1 year. Financial statement of the meaning with the documented assessment with the corporation property entity with the portrait with the final information entity with the financial statement to prepare with the coin with the general accepted with the accounting principles with the financial position with the state with the final condition balance sheet with the result of the operation statement and profit or loss of the income statement. Procedural representative of the premiums of the person with the organizations as named with the contract with the responsible with the data with the entry of the electronic transmission of the data contained with the crop insurance with the document sale with the new applications renewal with the Federal Crop Insurance Company with the corporation with the suspend with the data known for the notification temporary stop with the delay with the process of the data transfer with the corporation with the contract with the because of the same with the incomplete with the non-possible with the absolute with the erroneous with the 7080 with the protocol with the meaning with the data with the communication protocol standing with the binary synchronous communication with the internal business system with the IBM with the defined with the byte with the control with the communication protocol with the U with the control with the characteristic with the transmission binary code data 402.03 financial statement of certification and the design with the becoming the continue with the contract with the also named with the corporation with the final statement of which of the day not more than 18 months of the prior of the day for the submission financial statement is submitted with the CPA with the CPA audit the financial statement is not available submitted with the corporation must be accompanied with the certification the owner of the business entity with the sole proprietorship at least one of the general partner with the business entity with the partners with the chief executive officer of the business with the entity with the corporation with the state with the final with the fairly represent with the fair financial obligation with the entity data of such with the certification of the corporation final statement that's certified with the chief with the executive officer the treasurer with the partner with the owner with the submitted with the CPA audited financial statement that must be submitted in subsequent availability. 402.04 notification deviation with stand for the contractor shall divide with the corporation and immediately with the contract deviate with the requirements of the stand for the corporation may record with the contract with the compliant with the stand with the during with the contract the year with the corporation term with the such submission with the necessary if the corporation term with the deviation of the temporary with the corporation may grant temporary with the pending compliance with the specified time period with the waiver of any of the positions with the standard will not be granted with the applicable contract. 402.05 the denial of the termination of the contract termination of the reassignment of the business non-compliance with the stand with the result of the denial of the contract termination with the existing contract event with the denial of termination contract with all of the crop insurance with the policy corporation sold with the contract with all of the business pertaining there to the assumed the corporation made to adversely reassemble the corporation any of the contractor 402.06 with the financial qualification acceptable financial statement of the ending must show with the total liable asset with the existing liability with the ability with the current liability with the current asset. 402.07 the representative of the licensing certification contractor must maintain 25 licensed certified contract representative of the contract representative solicitor the term of the federal crop insurance with the corporation policy representative of the contractor solicitation sales for the possession of the policy with the must hold of the license issue for the state of the policy issue for the license authority for the sales of the insurance to any one or more of the following lines. Multiple rural crop insurance with the crop hail with the insurance with the casualty insurance with the property insurance with the liability insurance fire insurance allied lines with the contractor must submit with the evidence after the corporation verify for the type of the state of the lines License has held with the representative of the date of the expiration of each of the life of the contract. Representative must have with the chief of the certification corporation over each of the crop from the representative of the sale of the service of the insurance. 40208 with the term of the contract. With the term of the contract should comply with the July 1st with the sign of the contract with the contract with the year of the year annual the renewal of the day of the July 1st exceeding with the succeeding year with the life of the corporation and the contractor. Give with the 90 days of advance for the notice right with the other party with the contract with the renew with any of the breach of the contract or fail to comply with the change with the contract resolve with the termination contract with the contractor problem with the written notice termination contract with the termination will be effective with 30 days of the mail with the notice of the termination with the contract with the contractor or elect with the continue the contract to submit sequent a year must prior with the month of the June with the submit with the complete with the plan with the operation include with the certification required with the 402 on the 3 supply with the contractor must not perform the contract until the plan with the operation approved with the corporation. 402 on 9 electronic transmission receiving system with the accounting for the contractor and with the contractor required. Depth of the plan purpose of the transmit with the receipt with electronically information to and from the corporation concerned with the original execute with the cop insurance with the document with the maintain electrical system shall be the test of the approve of the corporation. Maintain corporation approve of the electronic system and condition of the electronic transmission recipient data of the contractor you live with the corporation approve of the automated data the process of the electronic data transmission capability with the process crops and insurance of the may be required with the establish maintain with the electronic equipment the computer software program capability of the receive the store with the accrual of the data with the electronic view with the telecommunication 3780 protocol using Bell 208B with a compatible modem and 480 for 4,800 bits per second with the entire store with the information original crop insurance with the document electronic permanent virtually peripheral electronically stored information record with the crop insurance with the document electronically stored actual information computer print with the data element summary with the protection transmit with the crop insurance with the data of electricity protocol and modem receive with electronic acknowledgement of the error message of the data with the 3780 protocol with the Bell 208B with the compatible modem at 4,800 megabytes with the relieve the original crop insurance with the document store can be a copy of the data physical documents. Corporation may approve of the other compatible specification accepted with the corporation if the requested by the contractor. 410 reserve 400 subpart N reserve of the subpart O of the non-standard underwriting classification system regulation for the 1991 succeeding crop years Title 7 U.S. Code 15061 15006P. 40301 basis purposes acceptable regulation contained with the subpart of the issue with the federal crop insurance with the act that is amended with the Title 7 of the U.S. Standard Code 1501 with the prescribed with the receipt with the downstream with the termination signed with the assigned with the U with the premium and rate with the conform with the intent with the 508 with the act with the Title 7 of the United States Code 1508 regulation applicable to all of the policy insured with the reinsured with the corporation under the act with the policy with the insured with the corporation identifies denomities of the base for the determination applicable with the individual insured with the regulation will be act with any of the policy amount with the cover the denomities for the donation of the experience for the area. 40302 with the act of the act means federal crop insurance with the act amended with the Title 7 of the U.S. Standard Code 1501 and Tennessee with the actively engaged with the farmer the meaning with the person with the return with the share with the profit the loss with the make with the contribution production share with the crop with the form of the capital equipment lane with the personal labor the personal manager actual with the yield many with the total harvest production the crop to divide with the number of acres of the written with the crop with the plan with the insured with the crop for the actual year of the total production crop count over the defined with the insurance policy with the divide with the insurance with the accuracy assigned yield with each of the crop production and the price per acre with the administrator with the assigned with the corporation the purpose of determining the insurance with cover the corporation the federal crop insurance corporation cumulative with earned premium rate with the total premium earned with all the year of the base of the divided with the total liability with all the year of the base for the record period with the result of the extreme with the percentage of the cumulative with the loss ratio mean with the ratio with the total identity with the total earned premium during with the base period with the correct with the decimal with the earned premium means with the premium of both of the move amount subsidized amount with the pay with the reduced exclude with the amount with the subsidy as attributed to the operating and administrative expense with the insurance with the provide with the crop under the policy with the insured with the reinsured with the corporation earned premium rate mean with the premium earned with the divided with the liability expressed with the percentage and even the means for the person defined with the subpart with the other individual identity loss and with the loss of the applicable with the policy with the any with the year with the NCF the base period with which of the total identity with the exceed with the total earned premium of the person with insurance with the crop of more than one county with the crop year with the identities of the premium will be accumulated for all counties with each of the crop year with the determined identity loss. Insured with experience with the means of the insured with the earned premium identities paid with the but not include a replan for the payment of the tab with the crop of the other applicable adjustment with the result of the firm and all of the insured with the crop of the insured with the policy and reinsured with the corporation for the one more with the crop year with the include with the information all of the counties which person was insured. Loss ratio means for the identity of the earned with the premium expressed as a decimal. NCF means a non-standard classification system. Non-standard classification system base period means 10 consecutive crop year with as defined with the crop policy. Ended with the 2 crop year with the 5 with the crop year with the non-standard with the crop classification system. With the classification becomes effective with all of the crops except for the special provision for the accepted for the national crop and non-stand for the crop classification system period for the period mean for the 10 consecutive crop year for the extended for the 3 crop year for the prior for the crop year for the NC for the classification become with effect for the, for example, the NC for the classification effect for the 1996 for the crop of the years against producer of the shirt shirts for the provided the Arizona, California, Texas, the sugar cane with which for the non-standard classification system based period for the include for the 1984 to 1993 crop year for the non-standard classification system classification effect for the 1996 for the crop year for the again H for the producer for the, all the other crops will they have for the non-classification standard classification system based period for the include for the 1985 for the 1994 crop years. Person means the individual partnership of association corporation assessed state with the trust for the other legal entity with the applicable state of the public subdivision agent of the state. Okay. Substantial benefit of the interest meaning for the entry for the 10% for the more for the term of the share for the entry for the equal for the 10% for the entry for the own for the direct for the indirectly for the share for the meaning for the ownership of the share for the corporation owns for the interest for the take for the interest realization. 403 initial selection criteria for the non-standard classification proceed for the substantial for the apply for the following with the interim for the experience for the include for the applicable adjustment for the crop for the have them met with the 3 or more identifiable the loss for the non-standard for the classification system base period. For the identity of the non-standard for the classification system base period for the cumulative 3 minutes not the same period less than $500 for the result of the dividing number of the identities allowed for the term of the non-classification system base period by for the number of year for the premium for the periods equal to 30 or greater for either the following apply for the non-logarithm cumulative for the end earned premium rate multiplied by the square root of the cumulative loss ratio equals 2 or greater for 5 or more identity loss for the national non-standard classification standards base period for the cumulative loss ratio of the exceeding 1.5 of the minimum standard provided in paragraph 2, A2, and 3 and 4 of the section may be the increase for the specific county for the county overall insured for the experience for the property substantial for the difference in insured for the experience for the criteria for the term for the increase for the standard for the apply for the until for the condition for the crop for the increase for the no longer apply for the any for the chain for the stream for the containment of the special provision of the crop selection crop that may be applied with the base insurance for the experience for the person insured for the acre for the combination both the insurance for the experience for the will include for the experience insurance the experience of the person experience insurance experience for the other insured entity for this person with a substantial beneficial insured for the person with the actively including engaged in farming your insured crop for the virtue of the person insured for the insured for the experience for the spouse for the minor child for the person an individual spouse for the minor child for the same and the individual under insurance the experience for the insured for the acreage include for all the insured for the experience for the database for the result of the production of the insured for the crop the acres but insured for the experience for the base for the combination for the person the insured acre for the insured for the experience for the will include for the experience for the pay send of the defined paragraph B with the section 1 for the specified increase the acre for the term of the base period for the increase for the end experience for the crop of the village of the by the county with the crop year of the disconnect with effect for the day amenities of the widespread with the diverse growing condition of the adjusting with the determinant for the determinant of the average yield of the county annual county crop yields over the previous 1 crop year unless the such of the days are over the determinant normal variable over the average yield of the county with expressed in the standard deviation subject with the result of 403.03 D2 and 403.0 D1. Divide annual crop year with the county with each of the crop year non-standard classification system base year with the result of the 403.03 D3 with the result of the not exceed 1.0 subject with the result of the 403.03 D4 with each crop year with the 1.0 multiply with the result of 403.03 D5 with the liability with the crop of the year subtract with the result of the 403.03 D6 with the enemy of the crop of the year. Alright, federal crop and insurance with the corporation substitute with the crop yield with the comparable with the determinant 403.03 with the D1 and 2 with the demand adjust with the average yield with the diminishment and the non-variable due with the county crop with the combination there with the county trends with the unusual variation production with the county crop with the available the yield with the loss of the data county crop with the limited with the about with the determination made with the available with the submitted with the crop the federal crop insurance with the corporation regional so with the office of the producer area with the alternative with the method determinant with the fact of the diverse growing condition insurance with the experience with the implemented the federal crop insurance corporation allowing special provisions 403.03 with the non-standard classification determination non-standard with the classification determination effect for the chain with the assigned with the yield with the premium rate for the both of these otherwise prescribed with the insurance with the actual two bills 2 for the design of the yield of the base of the intro of the extreme of the intro of the accurate of the person of the special of the intro of the agency of the will be greater than the symbol aptitude of the actual variable the actual yield of the intro of the accuracy of the during the base year. 2 for the design of the yield of the intro of the extreme of the person without regard for the specified of the incurred that coverage of the determined assigned with the yield of the extra of the calculated by multiplying except the loss of the cast ratio of loss of the frequency subsequent with the production in 1.00 yearly where except the loss cost for the ratio of the total determined the derivative divided with the total liability all year with the interim of the extreme of the base for the result of the width reduced with the cumulative of the earned premium rate with the expressed as a decimal loss rate with the number of the crop that you would identify with the pay with the divided with the number of the crop that you with the premium earns the room with the base period with the chain with the premium rate with will be made with the reflect with the premium rate with the would result of the insurance premium data during the base of the loss ratio of 1.0 with the higher loss ratio of the 1.0 with the premium rate with the determination provided with the high loss ratio with the applied with the uniformly with the counting non-class and standard classification chain with the made with the current with the assigned with the year with the insurance with the extreme with the discount base with the period with the adjust with the reflect with the effect with the chain with the assigned with the yield before chain with the premium rate calculated based on the premium with the one selection criteria they have been with the non-classified stand with the required adjustment of the made for the year to year with no further chain with the necessary with the time with the yield of the premium rates under the conditions set forth in 400.304 for the determining of the web of the further chain with the necessary for the eligibility of the criteria with the computer that each of the subsequent yield of the premium rate with the yield would have the applicable with the part with no effect with non-standard classification chain with the will did not be made increase with the sign with the yield with the decree with the premium rate with the otherwise the sign with the accurate table the result of less than the 10% of the decree with the sign yield less than 10% of the increase with the premium rate for the otherwise the sign with the accrual tables 10305 with the sign with the non-standard classification sign with the non-standard classification with the sign with the sign with the yield factor with the premium ratio with the made with the only with the form with the corporation include with the actual of the table the counting with the non-standard classification just signing will be made each with the further air with the identified with the assignment of the form with the not subject with the chain with under the provision subpart with the corporation for the year with include with the actual table the counting with except with the result of the request for the reconsideration provided with the 400.309 or result appeals to Title 7 of the CFR Part 11 the non-standard classification with the may be assignment identified with the insured with the crops acreage person to the combination person with the identified with the acreage of the crop and the crop area for the type of the variety for the crop of the option with the amendment whereby with the classification assignment they identify with the insured with the acreage applied with the all with the acre with the insured with the crop of the glowing and identify with the acre of the classification assigned with the person applied with the all and suitable acre with the insured with the crop of the person with the person have substantial the beneficial with the interest with the achieve with the engaged farming the classification of the activities combination of the person identified with the interest with the arable acreage only apply with those acre with the insured with the crop grown identified with the acreage on which of the named person actively engaged with the product and production producing such crop. 40306 with the swap of the minor travel, the swap of the minor travel, the individual consider the same of the individual purpose of the supplier, except for the swap of the activity engaged with the farming, separately with the farming operation, and over the marriage, for the separately with the person, with the separate farming operation. Soon the operation remains separate with the distinct with the farming operation conducted by the other spouse. Minor travel, the activity engaged with the farming and the separate the farming operation will be separate the person with respect to the separate farming operation. If the parent with the other with the parent with the substantial with the benefit with the interest, it does not have the interest with the money with the separate farming operation for the aim of the production such as the operation. Minor established to maintain with the separate household with the parent with the minor personally care with the farming activity with respect with the minor's farming operation. The minor established as separately accounting with the recording keeping with the minor farms operation. The individual shall be considered the minor age of the 18 of the reach of the control. Corp receive the conformity with the major individual 18 year of the age of the non-streams of the individuals of the minor. 403 also for the discontinue of the participation. If the person of the discontinue the participation of the crop insurance of the program and the person will be included with the non-stand with the classification system listed with the counting with the until the person discontinue with the person determined policy holder the person with substantial beneficial interest with the policy over at least 10 consecutive copy of the most recent non-standard classification sign will be continued from year to year until the person may have at least one copy of at least 3 years of the insurance experience with the curve of the current base payer of the non-standard classification will no longer be applicable. Person or person identified by the acreage of the corporation term of the person deceased. 40308 with the notice for the non-standard with the classification corporation will give the written notice to all of the parent with the non-classification stand with the design with the notice for the non-standard classification person rather than responsible for the coin subpart. Person upon with the receipt of the notice of the corporation will responsible to give the notice of the non-classification stand with any of the person insurable to enter with respect for the classification person will give the notice of the other affected person. Prior to the closing the day of the effective the person with the establishing insurable to enter with the classified person notified with the corporation prior to the classified person establishing insurable to enter with another person will be effective with the classification. 4 403-09 with a request for the reconsideration. Any person assigned non-classification standing with the number of the subpart notified with the allowed with the less than 30 day with the day with the notice of the received for the request for the consideration non-standing classification becoming effective with the request for the consideration have with the made with the review and the writing of the corporation upon the request for the timely request for the reconsideration person classification assigned with the corporation review information supplied by all respondents to the question raised for the individual absent information question reinsure for the determination complying with the subpart with the report review for the result of the individual request reconsideration upon the request of the reconsideration classification be corrected with the floor of the error of the mention and term of the experience of the interim of the calculation for the procedure subpart typographical errors. After the review, find the note causes of a change with the classification with the term placed on the file with the accruable tables of the county. Any person not satisfied with the termination corporation upon the reconsideration or further appeal with the Title 7 and Part 11. Subpart P, premium preemption for the state law regulation 351 based with the applicable with the regulation contained within subpart of the issue with the pursuant of the Federal Crop Insurance Act of the amended with the Title 7 1501 and 10 sequence prescribed the seat of the federal premium initiative and the state of the law of the regulation non-consistent for the purpose of the intent of the authority of the act. These regulations are applicable to the policy with the insurer, with the reinsurer, with the reinsurer, with the corporation contract agreements, the actions authorized for the action in terms of the issue of the federal crop insurance corporation 403-852 with state and local law with the regulation preempted to no state and local government body, no governmental body that shall have the authority to propagate with the rules, regulation, pass law with the issue with the policy with the decision directly, indirectly affect with the governing agreement, the contract, with the action that authorized for this parts unless by parts unless such of the authority specially authorized for the discord of the corporation. Following is not inclusive of the list of the example of the action state and local government, individual, non-governmental, individually prohibited to take with against for the corporation over any of the part acting pursuant to the subpart to this part such as does not include the imposed with enforcement and garnishment with the other similar acts for the against for the proceed to obtain with the payment is included the accordance with the Federal Crop Insurance Act for these regulations contract with agreements contained with the pursuant with these regulations tax premium associated with the policy issued here under except with approval of the other policy issued. 4. Levity filing with the judgment, penalty of the damage of the compensatory damage of the judgment of the attorney with the fee for the other cost of the any of the against the company to employ with the company with the include with the agent's loss of the diverse justice federal employee with the rising of the action with the inaction part of the for the individual and even the authorized required for the Federal Crop Insurance Act with the regulation of the contract agreement and the authorized Federal Crop Insurance Act or by with the regulation procedure assigned with the corporation, nothing in here and there preclude with the damage of the impo with against with the company with the termination the same with the Federal Crop Insurance Company with the company with the employee with the justice and loss for the justice fail with the comply with the terms of the policy and procedure of the Federal Crop Insurance Company with the such with the so it's a result of the insurer with the receipt with the payment of the amount with less of the amount insured with the entitled with the excess any tax fee with the amount with the funding with the maintenance with the state with the law with the insolvent with the pool of the other similar form of the proceeding listed does not list and limit the scope of the meaning of the paragraph A of the section subpart Q general administrative with the regulation collection store with the social security account number the employee with the identification number the 400-401 base for the purpose of the regulation contained with the subpart of the issue with the pursuant of the act for the proceed prescribed with the procedure with the collection of the use of the convention with the social security number the employee with identification number the retail with the related record with the regulation applicable to all the holder with the crop insurance policy with the Federal Crop Insurance Company corporation under the act with the sole with the service provided with the federal farm service the agency with the officer with all the holder crop insurance with the policy the insurer with the provider with the elder insurer with the procedure with the contract with the subcontract with the code with the past and present. Officers employed with the touch with the contract with the contractor, subcontractor with the agent with the general agent with the company with the past and present officer with the employee with the contract with the subcontractor with the agent with the general agent company with the federal company or corporate crop insurance company act corporation insured with the provide with loss adjustment with the other provisions of the with the crop insurance the programs area insured with the federal crop insurance corporation and all past present employed with the elected official with the contractor subcontractor federal crop insurance corporation for farmer service agency 404 with the federal crop insurance agency is amended with the act of the Title 7 U.S. Standard Code 1501 and 10 with the applicant with the person with the submitted with the applicant with the crop insurance with the coverage with the act with the authorized for the current with the past with the officer with the elected with the general agent with the contract with the law with the federal corporation insurance corporation insured with the provide with the general agency with the duties requirement of the justice with the administrative with the act of distribution for the record with the act of the remove of the dispo with the records contained with the participant social security number and employee identification number of the federal crop insurance company corporation with the insurance provider with the federal FCIC with the federal crop insurance corporation United States Department Department of Agricultural Successor Agent, FCSA, Federal Service Agency of the United States Department of Agricultural Successor Insurance Provider, private insurance company with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, federal or local federal farm service agency for providing with the crop insurance cover the producer and participating in the program administrator of the Act of the Post Office of the employee of any officer employed of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation insurance provided for the head of the employee of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation insurance provided subsequent to the effect of the date of the rule of the person involved, partnership with the associate with the corporation, state with the trust with the other legal entity with the applicable state with the public political subdivision agency with the state with the policy with the applicant with the application for the insurance with the under the program. Remember, the crop insurance of the program has been accepted with the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation with the insurance with the provider with the retrieval of the record with the retrieval of the person record with the social security number and employment. Safeguards meant for the security of the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. Insurance protect for the purpose of the social security number and unlawful disclosure access stored to these. Secured storing record of the Federal Corporation, Insurance Corporation, insurance for the provider with the computer, dip with the drive with the computer, printout with the magnetic tape with the index, microfiche, microfilm, etc. Substantial beneficial interest in a person having at least 10% of the applicant with the policy holder. System of the record references of the maintained the Federal Corporation, insurance for the corporation for the insurance for the provider with the name of the social security employee with identification number, the name of the driver, the state of the applicable with the policy number, the other information related with the multiple pearl crop, the insurance with the policy with the Federal Crop Insurance Company with the information retrieved with the person identified, including the not limited to the social security identification and the name.